stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference and answer the call.
Well, hi there, and welcome to the show. This is another episode of the All Around Growth podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. In today's show, I am going to provide you with a brief recap of the weekend here on the homestead and beyond, upcoming show topics for the rest of the week, and ultimately the topic of today's show, which is goals and setting the intention for your future. But before we dive into the topic of today's show, let's take a moment to mention the show's sponsors, the marketplace, and like I said, provide a quick recap of the weekend and a brief on the upcoming show topics. Now, the sponsor of today's show, before I forget, it is November 14th, Monday, November 14th. This is episode number 464 of the show. I appreciate you being here with me. The sponsor of today's show is York Meadow Farm. York Meadow Farm produces handcrafted batches of probiotic-rich fermented foods and natural bath and body products, scented with pure essential oils. York Meadow Farm and their partners incorporate organic, sustainable, and regenerative practices into the production of the food that is grown here and the products that are made. Their new online store allows you to order market-fresh, lacto-fermented foods and natural bath and body products from the convenience of your own home. And there's also a new merchandise page. So right now, the offerings are basic and simple. There's a coffee mug, an apron, a water bottle, but more items will be added as time goes on. And if you are interested in a specific item that you are looking for and you want to add it to the shop, let us know and we'll do some research, we'll do some digging, and we'll see what we can do for you to make that happen. Also, listeners of the show receive 25% off all orders by entering the discount code AllAroundGrowth at checkout. So please consider purchasing products that you likely already use from York Meadow Farm. Because if you like what you hear on this show, just check out what they have to offer via the links in the show notes and see how much you can save with that discount, along with free shipping on orders over $45. I'd also like to thank Food Forest Farms for the continued support of this show and for the assistance of providing a new streaming platform which allows the show to reach a broader audience. And not only streaming, if we're not streaming, we're also recording the episodes and posting those on YouTube as well. And subsequently, the show is growing. And that is something that we are going to talk about on Friday, but more on that in a moment. Now, Food Forest Farms, is a locally owned and operated beyond organic, bio-intensive city farm and coffee roaster and more. Learn more about everything that is going on at Food Forest Farms at foodforestfarms.com. Now, one event in particular worth mentioning is Squash Fest 2023, a summer solstice celebration of music, art, and light. And to learn more about that event, you will want to check out foodforestfarms.com/thesquashfest. All right. Now, show sponsors and supporters and everything that I mentioned here will be linked to in the show notes. So I would encourage you to check out all of the links in the show notes and just explore everything that I just mentioned. So let's get into the weekend, what happened over the past couple of days. And I don't know about you, but the past couple of days seemed to go by very quickly. And here we are. It's Monday morning, Monday afternoon, perhaps where you are when you're listening to this, or perhaps this is sometime in the future, but this weekend flew by. Now, Saturday morning, I went and participated in some volunteer work with the Oddfellows, the local lodge here, the Independent Order of Oddfellows. And one of our projects is maintenance of the baby section of the cemetery at Spring Grove. And we went there and did the fall cleanup, got the leaves out, cleaned up all the graves, tidied everything up, and just got it looking good for the winter time when, you know, we'll be back laying wreaths and putting up winter decorations. Also ran some errands, ran around to the banks, and came home to find that the dog had eaten an entire loaf of bread. Now, bread is not something that I buy a lot of, but I had made a pot roast with some potatoes from Cody and threw in a jar of curtido. And for some reason, I had this fixated in my mind that I wanted to slather a big piece of bread with butter and then throw that on the bottom of the bowl and then throw chunks of meat and potatoes and, the curtido, which is cabbage, onions, carrots, garlic, all this stuff, and then just chow down on that. And luckily, I was able to do that with a couple pieces of bread, but boy, when I came home from running errands, all I saw was an empty wrapper and a guilty look on my dog's face. Anyways, that just led to some additional walks with the dog during the afternoon, which consisted of work doing product costing, figuring out how much everything that we make actually costs, really drilling that down to the penny in terms of gloves, pH strips, lids, the frequency in which I use the beard nets that I wear, how often we are able to reuse the vessels in which we ferment, and all of these things. So there was a lot of time, effort, and energy over the past week and Saturday spent on that, just cleaning up and working on the goal setting workbook that I mentioned on Friday's episode. Okay, and then there was also a lot of talk in the Telegram group about barefoot shoes and how you go about going barefoot in the wintertime, because the temperatures are changing. We got the first snow of the season on Saturday, and if you're interested in just interesting discussion, check out the Telegram group, t.me/allaroundgrowth. This won't be the first time I mentioned that in today's show. Following all of that on Saturday, there were a lot of tunes played that evening, probably a couple of hours. And I even got to a point where I recorded myself playing. I'm trying to get in the habit of playing more, first of all, but also sharing the way in which I play, because I think that might be of benefit to other people who are trying to learn as well. Like if I had stumbled across videos of what I was doing years ago, or even if I am able to stumble across something like this now, I think that might be of benefit, provided I can tweak some things with the audio quality and such, but I'm working on that. At any rate, just lots of tunes played. Sunday, I went to church, went to Divine Liturgy, and then went over to Guy's house. Had a nice visit with Guy and his wife, Terry. And really, I went over there to play tunes with Guy. But we ended up having a nice discussion about church, about, the church and Christianity in general, and our experiences with the church. And then we got down to it. And Guy and I just got to jamming, playing tunes for hours, learning tunes. I almost said teaching each other things, but it was really him teaching me things, bow strokes, patterns on the fingerboard, and just how to play and work through some of the challenges that I had. So it was really a great time. And also drinking some fresh beer that he had just brewed up in his new little cooler where he was able to keep his kegs and his hops and his yeast and everything that he's got going on for his beer right down there in the workshop, and where all the fiddles are taken apart and there's just guts of instruments everywhere, and it's a fantastic place to spend some time. And that is what Sunday consisted of. And by the time I got home around 4:30, I was just gassed. I was very tired, and the only reason I can think I was so tired is because Sunday was full of truly human experiences, and I ended up just relaxing and doing nothing all evening, only to realize that my right forearm was sore from playing guitar and bowing so enthusiastically for so many hours this weekend. And I ended up doing some stretching, finger stretching exercises that seem to help. But I'm going to have to do more of that if I'm going to play more than I am, which, based on our discussion on Sunday, that is something that is going to happen more frequently. And subsequently, much of what took place on Sunday and over the weekend contributes to the show topics this week. For example, tomorrow we will be talking about the upcoming winter farmers markets. There's news and updates there. I look forward and I'm excited to share with you the news and the updates on that. Wednesday, we're going to talk about the differences between Russian, Byzantine, Coptic, and Syrian churches, right? These are all churches that are around Northeast Ohio, and several of which I've attended, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Thursday, we're going to talk about the Appalachian String Band Music Festival, otherwise known as Clifftop, coming up in 2023. I have committed to attending that with Guy and his sister Linny, and we're doing it. So I'm excited to go there for the first time myself personally. Guy's been there he's been there many times in past years, and I look forward to attending with him and connecting with his network, many of who I may already know. So this is going to be an interesting experience, and I look forward to talking about that more on Thursday. And then Friday, we are going to talk a little bit more about something that we don't talk about very often, but some of us, including myself, may be interested in this because it's not something that I look at very often myself either. We are going to talk about some benchmarks and statistics because, like I said, we've recently experienced some increased growth of the show due to increased social media presence, new platforms like TikTok and things like that, also being here on YouTube. So we're going to talk about some recent benchmarks that we've hit on Friday, what's new, and where we're going. And all of that for the rest of the week brings us to today's episode titled Goals and Setting the Intention for Your Future. Now, in Friday's episode titled How to Find Your Purpose in Life, we learned that we must set goals in multiple areas of our life in order for our purpose or our calling to be fulfilled. Now, if you haven't already listened to Friday's episode, I would strongly encourage you to do that right now. Do that now, and then circle back and then come back to today's episode. Now, if you haven't, like I said, if you haven't already listened to Friday's episode titled How to Find Your Purpose in Life, please do so. pause this episode, go back, listen to that episode, and then come on back. Why? I'll get to that in a second, but you want to do this, and you want to do this quickly, especially if you're listening to this on the morning of Monday, November 14th. Because Friday we talk about a Zoom call that's coming up in just a few hours at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Today, Monday, November 14th. And this Zoom call is important because if you've worked through the goal setting workbook that was discussed in detail during last Friday's episode, you will know that there's more than simply setting goals. You see, it's not just about setting the goals or creating yourself a to-do list for the new year that you check off as you go. It's more about setting the intention for your future, getting in the right mindset, establishing the right accountability, and finding the support you need to make your goals a reality. I like to think that there's a fair amount of accountability and support taking place in the podcast audience, especially where we are most active on Telegram. And you can find us on Telegram at t.me/allaroundgrowth. But much of what I share regarding accountability and support regarding goals and the words that I just read to you about setting intention and getting in the right mindset, those aren't my own words. Those words come to you from Dan Miller, and that is who is hosting this Zoom call later today. Now, this Zoom call is kind of like a masterclass format, and in this call, he is hosting today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's going to share the next best step to not only setting goals, but meeting them. And those are goals that we've got for business and career, goals for our families and our relationships, and goals for our very own personal development, and more. So I'm going to link both to the goal setting workbook and where you can register for this call today in the show notes. And even if you can't make this Zoom call, go ahead and sign up for it anyways so that you can watch the replay. Because this is a great opportunity to get a first-hand look at much of what I've been talking about in the show over the past 12, 18 months. And it's a great chance to see for yourself what has contributed to some of the changes that I've decided to make in my life during this time and the direction I've taken with actions in my life. So check it out. While I understand that I personally didn't talk too much specifically about goals and setting intention for the future, I chose to make this the topic of today's show because I want to provide you with the very same tools and resources that I am using in order to set my goals and my intention for the future. And this is a process that I'm working through, and part of that process includes the inclusion or participation in this Zoom call today at 3 o'clock. So if all of this kind of thing interests you, then be sure to check out the show notes for links to learn more and sign up for the Zoom call today. And I look forward to seeing you there. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.
In a world of pain, what can I do? The needs are many and answers a few. People turn away and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love, and truth is always the best way to If we stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference and answer the call. You know the times are wasting every day, and we can help somebody along the way. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love. Truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow, you're an odd